Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into something truly mind-bending. An idea that connects the absolute smallest parts of life to the biggest mysteries of the human mind. And it all comes down to a hidden geometric pattern. So let's just jump right in with a puzzle. What on earth could possibly connect your DNA? A slime mold, which, by the way, has no brain, and your own thoughts. I mean, those things sound completely unrelated, right? Almost impossible. But the answer, well, it points to one of nature's biggest secrets. The answer is a hidden pattern. You can think of it like life's fundamental operating system, something that it uses at every single level, from the tiniest molecule all the way up to your mind. And this whole system, it's built on just two core ideas.
Okay, so let's break this down. These are our two master keys. First up, you've got fractals. This is the architecture of life. We're talking about these incredibly complex, self-repeating structures. You know, like a fern, where every little leaf is just a mini version of the whole branch. And on the other side, we've got chaos. This is the engine. It's all the stuff that looks totally random and unpredictable, but it's actually following some very specific hidden rules.
All right, so let's start our journey at the bottom. We're going to climb this ladder of scale, and the first rung is the absolute code of life itself. We're talking about the molecular level here.
So get this, you've got about 2 meters of DNA crammed inside every single one of your cells. But it's not just stuffed in there like a messy ball of yarn, no way. It's organized into something called a fractal globule. A great way to picture it is like a perfectly folded map. It's packed into this tiny, tiny space, but it's done so cleverly that you can access any gene you need without having to unfold the whole thing. It's just hyper-efficient, a total masterpiece of data storage.
And here's the kicker. This is not just some neat packing trick. The argument here is that this is a blueprint. The way life figured out how to store information using fractals at this super basic level in our DNA is the exact same principle the brain is going to use later on to store all your memories. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. We've seen the molecular level, now let's go up to a single cell. What happens when you take these same rules and apply them to a living organism? Well, you get something pretty amazing. You get intelligence without a brain. This is Viscerum polycephalum, the slime mold. And it is incredible. It's a giant single cell, but it can solve mazes. It can figure out the most efficient route for a subway system. So how does it do it? It sends out these branching, fractal-like tendrils to explore everything around it. And when it finds a good path, it strengthens it. The dead ends, they just wither away. So it's literally building and editing a physical, fractal map of its world to solve problems. Wild, right? And there it is again. It's the same operating system, just playing out on a totally different scale. The way this simple little cell pulses and makes decisions, it's a direct parallel to how these incredibly complex neural flows organize themselves in our own brains when we're trying to remember something or make a choice. Okay, let's zoom out one more time. We've gone from molecule to cell. Now let's look at how these rules create intelligence when you have thousands of individuals acting together. We're talking about the wisdom of the crowd, or in this case, the flock. You know when you see a flock of birds or a school of fish moving together? It looks like total chaos, right? But it's actually a perfect living example of something from chaos theory called a strange attractor. The river analogy is perfect here. The river itself has a stable shape and a clear direction. But if you try to track one single water molecule, its path is totally chaotic and unpredictable. It's this beautiful balance, this dynamic stability, that gives the whole group its incredible order and makes it so resilient. And this is where it gets really incredible. Nature reuses this exact same solution inside our heads. You see how there's no single leader in the flock? Leadership is constantly shifting. Well, that's a direct mirror of how different groups of neurons in our brain take turns, carrying the load, the main flow of energy, when we're thinking or trying to pull up a memory. And that brings us to our final destination, the human brain. This is it. This is where the fractal architecture and the chaotic engine combine in their most complex, most beautiful form to create, well, everything. Memory, thought, and even consciousness itself. So how does this all actually work in the brain? Well, one model, the Brain Kinematics Model, suggests our memories aren't stored like files on a computer. Think of your long-term memories like a vast library of densely packed, stable fractal books, just like how DNA is stored. But your short-term memory, what you're thinking about right now, that's more like a super-fast, dynamic, chaotic librarian running around pulling different books off the shelf and making connections between them. It's the stable library meeting the dynamic search.
So how do those two systems, the library and the librarian, work together? The technical term is a mouthful, strain energy attractors. But the idea behind it is actually pretty simple and really beautiful. It's the sweet spot. It's that perfect state of balance where the brain's stable fractal library meets the chaotic search party of your thoughts. And it's in that incredible interplay that a coherent, functioning mind is born.
Okay, let's pull all of this together. We've gone on quite a journey, right? From the code inside a single cell nucleus all the way up to the very structure of our thoughts. So what's the big picture? We see this pattern everywhere. Life's first problem was storage, and its solution was the fractal in our DNA. Then it needed to explore, and it used that same fractal pattern in the slime mold. Then it needed to create order out of many, so it used the engine of chaos in a flock of birds. And finally, in our minds, it put it all together. It used fractals for the stable architecture of memory and chaos for the dynamic energy of thought. It's the same fundamental operating system, just getting more and more complex at every single step. And that leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. If consciousness isn't some kind of special magic that only happens in brains, but instead it's something that just emerges from this universal pattern of fractals and chaos, well then, where else in the universe could that pattern exist? It kind of suggests that awareness might be a fundamental feature of complexity itself, something that's literally woven into the geometry of the cosmos.